righty. We got threes, we got twos, and then we got ones, and that means the show has begun. Welcome back to the Say Something show, y'all. Say Something fam. It's good to see you guys. It has been a minute. Life has been lifing. Sports have been sporting. And so, we apologize for the delay in the wonderful content. However, anytime this does happen, we have a ton to talk about.
Right.
We have endless opportunity to go over a lot of things, which usually makes the show really awesome. Right. So, without further ado, we got to do our tradition here with the Say Something fam. Make sure you take time, check on the people you care for. If it's a text, if it's a quick rotation of the neck to say what's going on, you never know when it might help. So make sure you take a time in your day now or sometime soon to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it right now. So, Mitch, how are you doing? How's everything been? Let the people know.
Like you said, life been lifing. We had a beautiful Mother's Day last weekend, so that was nice to spend some time with moms and the fam. Other than that, just been doing a lot of work at the house, been trying to make stuff look nice. We moved in at the beginning of the year, so we just been trying to make stuff look good on the deck, make it a home, you know what I mean? Other than that, got a birthday coming up, so and have a little shindig, so looking forward to that, but really looking forward to getting back to these sports, man. A lot to talk about, like you said. Some of these teams right now have been disappointing, and there's just been a lot of shakeup, a lot of questions out there in all the sports world, so I'm ready to get talking about it. What about you, my man?
Man, I'm doing well. Glad to hear it. By the way, obviously, happy early birthday. I'm excited to pull up and show out a little B-Day shindig from my boy. May is always a great month to have a B-Day. Yes. You know what I mean? So I just as well had a B-Day May 8th, big 3-5, Kevin Durant. I like telling people, when they ask how old I am at this point, I'm Kevin Durant's number. We don't really say too many things, details not needed. But no, I went to San Diego, had a phenomenal time. Anytime you come back and you're less than 100%, usually that signifies like, okay. You
was doing your thing.
You went a little crazy. It went up.
He was feeling himself.
Yeah, it went up, and everything that goes up eventually must come down. So that's what happened to me afterwards. But also, I've just been kind of completing this last stretch of this semester, just trying to end my first year of this master's program on a strong note. I do believe a 4.0 is in my grasp. For the entire year, which at one point seemed, not only unrealistic, but just something that I've never even shot for in the past. So that feels great in itself, right? Just like the work, the effort that was put into it. And then, of course, like all of that stuff that we consider lifing takes away from other things. So, I, too, just like Mitch, I'm very excited to get back to the sports. We got a little group chat with the Say Something fam, the little producing side of it. And there was a little hilarious commentary going around about some of the things that have happened while we've been gone, and just kind of the urgency on our end, specifically me, as well, to just get on this microphone. We got things to say. So without further ado, glad to see Reek's back in the building. He's going on 2 months with that arm. So remember, we told you guys, man, it's tetanus, right? Yeah. Man, get your tetanus shots, man. Stay up to date on those things. And if you got time, man, in the comments or wherever else, just put it in the universe. Wish my man's well. We need that arm back to 100.
Yes.
So let's get to the Warriors. We got to update them. For you guys who are a part of the Warriors kingdom, part of the people who bleed gold, the gold-blooded folks, then you already know what's coming. You already know where this conversation is headed. For those who don't know, we are currently in the offseason. So I'm going to let Mitch, real fast, before we even dive into the offseason, I'm going to let him give a quick synopsis, overview of what got us into this place, which was the series with the Timberwolves. So, Mitch, if you don't mind, would you just give him a little bit of update of what happened before we head into the offseason?
Man, so like you said, we all saw it. We had the first round, Houston Rockets trying to give us a fight. A great up and coming team, a bunch of young guys, but sure. We kind of showed them that they are pretty young and haven't been experienced by winning in 7 games. It really shouldn't have took that long, but we kind of just weren't up to snuff, and that's kind of the name of the game this whole season is we got to be perfect if we're going to be winning games. And it really showed in this last series, especially losing Steph first game. I think it's a little bit understated that of how important Steph is on a team.
Oh.
I don't care what it is. It's like, I get we have Jimmy Butler, and that's way better than anybody who was on the Cavs teams back in the day with LeBron. But, like, to be this bad after losing Steph Curry, I think people need to understand just how important he is and how many of our players he's put on, especially ones that have moved on to other teams and gotten paid. Like, this man is the whole universe for our team. So, like I said, we lost him game one, even though we won that game. But it showed moving forward that without him, we're not a team that should be in the playoffs. And the guy that we got specifically for the playoffs did not show up when it counted. We really just needed Jimmy Butler to win us one game so that we could get to game 6 where Steph could potentially come back. And he shot like 9 times in game 4, shot like 11 times in game 5. And it was just really under-inspiring. Like, really, like, what was he doing the whole time? There was so much. I know that the offense is centered around Steph, but since he was gone, now that's ultimate Jimmy mode, where it's like, just give me the ball and let me do my thing. And what really ended up happening was, I'm going to drive to the hole, and then I'm going to kick it out. Or I'm going to drive to the hole, not very strong, and be scared of the defense, and they're just going to get a block, or I'm just throwing the ball up at the basket for a layup. And it didn't look like there was any cohesion in the offense. Again, understandably, no Steph. That takes, 99% of the offense, offensive play calls is probably Steph centered.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't have him and it's this quick and you have to make that quick of an adjustment, it's very, very difficult. But like I said, Jimmy, that's what you did with all the other teams that you played with. It's not like anybody else's number was getting called. It was Jimmy gets the ball, and if he decides to pass it, he does, and that means you're open because 3 people came to him. But this time, it was just he was too used to being Robin. He didn't want to be the Superman, didn't want to be the Batman this time, and it really showed. And maybe it's the age, but we are paying this guy $60 million, so we're going to need a little bit more than that. You can't have Pajimski and these other guys taking more shots than you. You're our seasoned vet. You're our guy. We wanted playoff Jimmy. It's great that you propelled us to the playoffs the way you did, but we probably could have got to the sixth spot and been all right without you. We needed playoff Jimmy. And that really didn't manifest itself. And each game was very close up until a certain point, and then it just got away from us. And a lot of tired legs and a lot of guys just no organization within the offense. No confidence out there. A lot of guys just driving and kicking out. And we're scared of Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid down low. So it was disappointing, but without Steph Curry, it was pretty expected. You know, if we had won any games, it was just going to be like, wow, you guys really willed it to fruition and made it happen. But ultimately, no Steph, no chance. Because even with Steph, it was going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I agree, and then also I think that game 3 for me was huge. Where it's like, one, I think game 4, Jimmy Butler was sick. There was several people on the team that kind of came down with something fluky, and they definitely all looked a little off game 4. But game 3 to me, I mean, obviously we lost Steph in the second quarter of game 1, so this is like not even late in that game. So for us to still hold on to game 1, I think in itself was pretty spectacular and bought us some time. And I think that Mitch is right. We did need Butler to win us one. But I think that he almost did in game 3. And I think that that's the game that I really look at as if we had gotten that one, I think it would have been a different series. And we were up late in that one.
Into the fourth quarter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, Butler went for 33. Let me read this stat line. Butler gave us 33 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. 4 turnovers, not a fan of, and he didn't give us a lot of defense. But shooting 12 for 26, 7 for 9 from the free throw, 2 for 4 from the 3. He truly, him and Kuminga took that game over. Kuminga went for 30 off the bench, gave us 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. These two combining for 63 is all you can ask. right? And to me, I really more look at the rest of the guys. Like Jimmy in game 4, if he's sick, I chalk that up. Game 5, I just don't think any of the guys were ready for that fight anymore. I think that they had realized at that point that we needed game 3. This series was done. There was no coming back from this at this point. And they knew that it was even a long shot, I think, really, for Steph to come back in that series. Like, I think the only way Steph honestly came back, like, we kept woofing it. But the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm really like, I think we only bring him back for game 7. I think it literally would have been that. And even then, I think it still would have been debatable.
Yeah, that hammy is no joke.
And for it to be his first one as well. But like, in this game right here in the game 3, you look at Draymond Green, right? 5 turnovers, fouling out with 2 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, right? Shooting 1 for 4. What are we on, right? You look at Brandon Pajemski, 5 points, 8 rebounds. That's what's up, but we know he can rebound. 2 assists, 1 for 10, 1 for 4 from the 3-point, and 2 for 2 from free throw, which is usually where he sucks. And so that's not a playoff team. Like, that to me is when I look at and I go, that's not what we expected of those guys. And our defense was there the whole series. Like, if you look across the board, we really lost the series because of our offense. It's not that the Wolves played great. It's not that we didn't inflict the kind of play and tempo we wanted. We just couldn't make shots. Tons of open shots. Tons of missed layups, right? And so we just flat out did not deserve to advance. But I think the whole series swung on game 3. Like, I truly believe Kerr did feel like he was finally getting the lineups down without Curry. I feel like he felt like we can compete with this team due to our defense. And I think it really showed in that game 3 where it took them outscoring us by 9 late to even be in a position where they could win. Right? And so I think if we take that game, we really are looking at it like we're going to get Steph back. Like, we've now earned Steph back. And I think losing that one, vets know, right? Like, we're not a young team. So, like, Dre and Jimmy, I think you could see it in them more than anybody else coming into that last game where it was just, I'm going to give it what I got, but I'm already beaten. Like, they already beat me. And, Jimmy's history with Minnesota runs deep, and I think that this is his first L to Minnesota, period. And I think he wanted out. I think he realized that's what's going down, and I can't stop it. And I need next year. I need my fade back. That's what it reminded me of. And truth be told, sends us into our next subject perfectly, which is the Warriors offseason. Obviously, we lose 4-1. That ends up being the results of that series. Ended up being 4-1. And, like I said, if I'm going to leave it at one thing, it's that they made more shots than we did, which may sound silly, but if you watch the series, that's all it really was, because they except for those last 2 games, they couldn't figure out how to score against us either. The last 2 games, the floodgates open, they shot 60% or something like that. It is what it is. That's what momentum is. But before that, we were an absolute buzzsaw. And they, it was going to take something special from Anthony Edwards, who those first couple games was shooting like 30%.
Right. And you've seen Steph's face on the bench the whole time. He was just sitting there.
He's in shock. I mean, some of those.
Just shaking his head because he's just like, if I was out there, that'd be completely different right now.
Yeah. And some of the shot making in the end of that series was just like, I guess they were just meant to beat us. Because some of those guys down the stretch, I don't care. Like, Dante, you're dope. Dante was. The last 2 games was on fire. Dante was coming off the bench like he hated us. And, give props to them. We'll see y'all next year. Leading into this offseason, I mean, what I will say is I'm happy with the core. I do think we need to build around it. But if you look at the way that they played with no time at all, and the stretch that we had 22-5 with Jimmy Butler, #1 defense in the league, and to Mitch's point, before we completely move on from that series, I do believe we brought Jimmy Butler into play with Steph. And so I think it's hard-pressed to judge Jimmy Butler on him not being able to elevate his game, along with the sicknesses and all the other excuses. I think it's hard to judge him in a system that is so heavily predicated towards having somebody like Steph Curry in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole way we run our offense requires a guy that you're going to sell out on. When you don't have that, what is all that motion? It's just motion. It's just
Moving
wasted
around
motion.
the 3-point line.
Exactly. It's just wasted motion, right? And so we are a brand unlike many in the league. And why I say that is because we expect you to play Warriors ball.
Yeah.
You're coming in here to play we play, the way that we play the ball game. You know what I mean? And a lot of other teams, they're going to, who are you? Okay, what's your strengths? We're going to switch it up to you. We're not like that. We're picking you based on your ability, at least in our eyes, to function within our system. And so Jimmy, I think in a Miami system, like if we had played a Miami type of, we want to be just gritty and just slow it down and not be heaving all these threes, right? And try to have some semblance of an inside-out game, I think Jimmy could have put his fingerprints all over that series. But I think the way we play, we can't pull the plug on that in the middle of a series. And I think for Jimmy Butler, who's never going to be a high-volume three-point shooter, and Brandon Pajemski, who's throwing the ball over the basket, and you guys, right? You're waiting on Buddy Hield to play Russian roulette, right? These guys are just not putting up enough consistent performances to allow Jimmy Butler to, one, be a playmaker, because if you're not hitting shots, you ain't getting assists, and two, to really let the game come to him, because nobody else was going to allow it to happen either. It was like, nah, Jimmy, take the ball back. And he's getting a bunch of grenades where it's just like, how can I get my flow when I'm getting the ball with 3 seconds left and I'm expected to hit a fadeaway over their best defender who normally would be on Steph?
Yeah, and I don't have somebody like Derek Jones or whatever his name
is
to come make that cut to just pass it to him and jump up. Everybody he passes to comes like
Bam Adebayo.
Let me just
Bam Adebayo. Like if we had some semblance of that kind of roster where there's a Bam, like you're saying, there's a Derek Jones, like you're saying, there's Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
There's people to offset what's going on, and they're planning to have it be low scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think we could have seen more of the impactful Jimmy 25. But I think overall, if you look at the stats, man, I think we did get playoff Jimmy. I think we got exactly what we wanted out of the trade, and I think there was no roster we were going to put together this year that was going to do without Steph.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just leave it at that. Offseason. What does the offseason look like for the Warriors? What do you think we need?
I mean, honestly, there's just some questions in the development of Taron Armstrong. We did get him, and he is a great young player. So I do want to see what his kind of development is and how he can be implemented into our team.
Giddy, baby.
Forward. What are we going to do with guys like Trace Jackson Davis? Jonathan
Looney.
We got Looney. I mean, Looney hopefully is a lifer. Hopefully we don't have to worry about Looney.
Right. I think he would be if we want him.
And then questioning Moses Moody and his performances in the playoffs and how he was. Is he somebody that we want to keep on pushing to get more playing time? We saw a lot of good things during the season. But again, got to be part of this offense if Steph Curry's still on the team. Is he somebody who can still function and be a good player to help us reach that next level moving forward? What's his progression like? Jonathan Kuminga, what is he going to be to our team? Is he a trade piece, or is he somebody that we're going to be behind for the next few years to try and be our superstar even post-Steph? I think we've been trying. I think like we've talked about before, he had his greatest stretch right before he got injured. And then right when he came back, we got Jimmy, and it's the end of the season. And it's a whole lot of stuff going on. It makes it difficult to get back in the swing of things. So we'll have to monitor his progression this offseason. Is he somebody we can rely on to be a scorer? He puts up 30 points in these games. Without Steph, can he be productive with him on the court as well?
Correct.
Will he find an identity? Or am I going to be an all-around player? Am I going to be a 3-and-D guy? Am I just going to be a slasher? You got to find out where you can fit in a little bit more and add to that IQ, I think. And then other than that, who is the best fit to add on our team with height? I mean, maybe that's not on the actual Golden State Warriors' minds, but in my mind and in my opinion, a lot of fans' minds, look, we just couldn't get to the basket at all. And again, Steph, not on the court. We get it. But again, if nobody else can do anything, what are they doing here? It's a lot of
100%.
wasted movement. I can't have you guys going to the hole and being scared. Get blocked. Like, that's better than going up and then just losing the ball or throwing it away or half-heartedly throwing it up. Like, just go hard to the basket. If Dante DiVincenzo can drive to the basket and raise up and dunk on a few people, you guys can do it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a little bit more confidence from our guys. And are we going to be able to add a 7-footer who has a little backbone that can hold it down? Because clearly it's been shown that more and more that we need a big man.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that speaking back just real fast to the Rockets, I mean, the only reason I think the Rockets were in the series is because there were possessions where they had 4 shots. 4 shots. That is rare in the NBA. Like, it's one thing to say getting putback opportunities, getting second chance opportunities. What in the hell is a 4th chance?
That's crazy.
What is that? And that was happening all the time. I mean, we were having to hack at Steven Adams just to try.
Bro, did you see
to
how
get some semblance of a rebound?
Did you see how he was grabbing Rudy Gobert?
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's like dudes weren't even trying to get a rebound. They're just like, let me hold him so somebody else can get a rebound.
Right.
Well, come on, we need somebody who can box out with them.
Absolutely.
Somebody.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm gonna just define it as 2 things, because once free agency shakes out, we'll see a little bit more. But if I were to define it as 2 things, I think we need more shooting, and I think we need more height. And people might say more shooting. You have Steph Curry, Buddy Hield. We all just don't know our system, and so like the way our system works, we need spacing everywhere unless you're a bona fide playmaker. And if you can do both, that's great. But the only way you're out there, if you're not a bona fide shooter and making our spacing and motion offense work, is if you are a playmaker. And if you're not that, you need to be a shooter. And so when I look at the team we have, I mean, I think initially it sounded good on paper. We did get a lot, like Waters. Wiggins is a pretty good 3-point shooter when he was here last year, right? You have Hield. You had Melton who could shoot. Kyle Anderson cannot, right? But like you started seeing, once Melton went down, you just started seeing all these options dry up. Lindy's gone, And I think that we do need like a Sam Hauser. Like I would love to see us grab one of those Celtics guys, right?
What's his name? He was on the Pistons. He might be on Memphis now, but he didn't play against us. Was he from Duke? What is his name?
Kennard.
Yeah. Maybe like a Luke Kennard.
Yep.
Like that.
Take a Luke Kennard for sure. Like even like a Cornette, like either of those bigs over there.
Hello, white guys.
Yeah, we just did. Well, I mean, that's what's going to come cheap. You know what I mean? We got to get a cheap one here. No, but I mean, like all jokes aside, like I think, there's definitely some bigger fish out there. But I think in terms of those kind of lower big impact pieces that fit with the system, I think you're right with the guy you mentioned. I think for me too, Sam Hauser. I mean, if you really look at his numbers, the way he plays, the opportunities he gets, we could use that, right? Like a 6'9" guy who's spot up, splash, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, isn't a high turnover guy, plays the right kind of team defense, isn't necessarily a stat producing guy, but is a guy on defense that's rarely doing it wrong, right? And really at the end of the day, he's a guy that he's been called on to play 8 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 4 minutes. His minutes fluctuate so much, and he never wavers on what he's doing. That's what the Warriors need. Like, if you've noticed how we end up constructing our lineup, it takes a while.
Yeah.
So we need guys that are just bona fide, ready. They know what their role is, and they're going to come out and do it. And if you're a shooter in our system, that's like liquid gold. That's like walking around with just assets on assets. So I think that's the case. And then I think we just need a traditional big. Like, I don't even care if he can space the floor. I don't, because we can figure out other lineups that'll work around that. But I just want to see a guy that can bang bodies and that is physically intimidating.
Yeah.
And is somebody, like, to me, a target that I would love to see, let's go get Daniel Gafford. Let's go grab Daniel Gafford from the Mavs. You already know they got 3,000 bigs over there, okay? And they got money problems too coming up here with Coop. Okay? So pick up the phone. Because if you want to talk about a guy that fits us perfectly, no, he's not going to shoot a 3. But when you talk about blocks per minute, when you talk about rim to rim running, and when you talk about alley-ooper tins, you know Daniel Gafford does those, and he does them high volume and with high efficiency, right? So if you, again, as we progress in the offseason, Steve Kerr, I know you're stressed out right now. Y'all need to, get done, leave it together. Make some calls. If y'all need me and Mitch, we can make some of this work out for y'all. We can get it off of just the pen and paper mode, and we can make it reality, right? So
also, free agents, come to the squad. Like, enough of this, like, oh, Vito going to the Warriors because then, you're just adding to their diet. Come win a championship here. I'm a little annoyed at the teams right now. Like, I guess I'm just a hater at the end of the day, if I really think about it. I'm looking at these teams who are in the playoffs that are continuing to move on, and they got good teams and whatnot. But I'm thinking about our past teams that we've had. I'm just like, bro, if whoever is gonna win the championship this year is like, that's not a historic team, bro.
Nah.
Like, I can't see none of these teams that are left where it's like, yeah, bro, you remember them? They was like, there's gonna be a championship that's gonna, I don't know, maybe even like the Celtics won last year, where it's just like, yeah, that team won this year, but they not even like raw like that. Like, I don't know, just it seems like a down year in terms of team wise, and it seems like it's because players are refusing to go to certain teams because they don't want to just hop on a bandwagon or something, even though that used to be the whole thing. It's,
right.
Oh yeah, I'm in my 12th year, let me go win a championship here. But now people are acting like, oh, we don't want to join them no more. Now these lesser teams are winning, but that's just my little spiel at the end. But free agents, come to the Warriors, because with Steph, you'll win.
And also, like, I do think it's more, at the end of the day with that, I just think it comes out of Draymond Green. Like, as much as I love Draymond Green, like, I just think that he has soured his way across the league. And because he's stayed on one team only, nobody has a different perspective. Only people who've been on the Warriors understand why he's in the league and why it's okay for him to talk like that. And I think the rest of the league, quite frankly, for a guy who averages 8 points, is just tired of hearing it. You know what I mean?
Damn, 8? Okay, Draymond.
Right. Good career year. But Draymond is so impactful and amazing. Yeah. And I know why he's worth what he's worth. So I'm not speaking it in a negative sense. I'm vibe checking. And I'm that's the vibes I'm getting. But I do think, and this kind of brings us to the last subject before we move forward in terms of the Warriors. I do think we could be in a scenario, and I was just thinking about this recently, where, like, I think if the right opportunity comes along, they're going to jump back into the first or second apron. And, like, we only got 2 years left on these contracts. Like, I could see Joe Lacob saying, if he sees the right opportunity, F it. Like, let's jump back into the second apron. I'll pay this absolute gargantuan amount of money.
Give up everybody for Giannis.
And we get one more star, right? And that brings us to the last one, which is Giannis. Giannis, the availability is potentially out there. Last thing I'll say before we completely move to Giannis is I do believe Kuminga has played his last game with the Warriors. I love Kuminga. I just think we got to free him. Like, I'm doing what's best for both parties. Like, because I love Kuminga. I just truly believe we went through that stretch and picked the wrong players. We just flat out systematically picked the wrong players. And I think that what's tricky about that is, as a team who's winning consistently, you're used to being in the back of the draft, which allows you to snipe skill sets. That allows you to go for a guy who specializes in blah, 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 right? And nobody bats an eye at it because you picked him 28. No worries. If the guy's just a shooter, he's just a shooter. That's why he got drafted 28. And I think that when we got up top, we just got so enamored with the fact that all these different kinds of prospects are available. And I also think that, we did a poor job during that process of smoke screening. Like, I think all the players we hyped got hyped and got taken before us. Like, we somehow hyped up, we got all in Anthony Edwards' head to the point where we made him so mad dealing with us, he was saying he really wouldn't even have wanted to go with us even if we had drafted him second, because Steve Kerr had said, I don't like your work ethic. And that solidified his then workout with Minnesota, where he then went to work out with Minnesota and went stupid and said, okay, people don't like my workout, check this out. And then Minnesota was like, we seen enough. We good, right? Now we stuck with James Sore Thumb Wiseman, who we can't even get on the court. He's not even in the league no more, at least to my knowledge, or at least, with meaningful minutes, right? And then you look at the next year, we rode Scotty Barnes all the way to the fourth pick. Scotty Barnes was the guy. But why was I hearing about that 2.5 months before the draft? You know what I mean? Where it was like, and everybody was saying, damn, the Warriors really, at 7, people weren't even thinking Scotty Barnes would go that high. People were like, yeah, he's top 10 probably, but like 7, okay, that they like him.
Mm-hmm. They'll be the ones to reach on him.
They like him. It must work for them. Well, no. What works for us works for a lot of people. And so I just think you look at that little spree of those 3 draft picks, man, and it just makes me sad. And so, like, I think you got to free them. Like, at this point, they're 22 years old. They're so young. Mm-hmm. They need time to just do their thing. And if they're not what they're supposed to be, then let it happen with true minutes. Let it happen with a true opportunity to develop. Don't let it happen sporadically, putting them in to the point where we don't even know their potential. Like, right. As the fan base that supported them, I don't think me or Mitch could truly speak on what is Kuminga's ceiling in the league, what is Moody's ceiling in the league. I don't know.
I was just surprised after we won the championship when they were all young rookies and everything. We didn't just be like, all right, let them loose now.
Because we sure did with Jordan Poole.
Right.
We sure did with Jordan Poole. But again, that to me comes down to, what does Jordan Poole do well? He's a sniper. And he's a hot shooter. And at the end of the day, I think now that I've watched enough, I mean, if you ain't that, it's going to be hard. You got to prove a lot to get out there with us without having that as a starting point. Mm. So, Giannis, you think it's realistic? I mean, I'll just real fast before I hand it to you. I'm going to say I do, but I think that what it would take is, a third team, and I think also it will take Giannis saying he wants to come play with Steph, because we're not going to outbid anybody. That's no secret. There are teams out here that have, you want to talk about like the Thunder, Spurs,
Rockets.
Some Rockets. Some of these teams have assets to the ceiling. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to outbid
the Pelicans.
Yeah, we're not going to outbid them. However, what we do know about the NBA is big markets matter. Mm-hmm. And there's only a couple big markets that can even make it happen. New York, everybody that is a big market is going to try, right? And so the reality is, I mean, Giannis hasn't said he will yet. Sounds like there's definitely rumbling. But in order for him not to go to Houston, Brooklyn, or what was the other team? The Spurs. One of these super asset-driven teams. It'll take him asking. Mm-hmm. It'll take him asking. So that's my kind of synopsis on this. I do think it's possible, and I do think that there is a world where we ship Draymond or Jimmy, and we end up
if we're gonna get Giannis.
Yeah, and we end up bringing in Giannis. I personally believe you can't really remove Draymond at this point. I would rather it be Draymond, as weird as that sounds. But I do think in terms of like the actual core, the way this team wants to play, you got to keep Dray. You can't just – we already lost Clay. You can't just leave it to Steph as the only member of the true golden core that we had, because I think it just defines our team too much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jimmy's the better talent that's left of the older 30-year-old players that are Jimmy and Draymond. I think Draymond would have to go to a team. I don't think you can put him in and think he's going to be a significant chip in the trade. Like
he'll improve your defense.
He's only valuable to us, it seems like.
And he'll improve your defense.
He'll improve your defense. But who knows about the locker room and all that other stuff. And it's 0 on offense. So
0.
Yeah, we'd probably have to lose Jimmy, most likely. Yeah, we'd have to lose Kuminga, Moody, Jimmy, some first-round picks. So, I mean, I'd be willing to do it. I mean, KD came to us, but that was on free agency. But, we can dream.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. I think it'd be cool for the NBA, too, that he doesn't just go to one of these new teams. It seems like that would just kind of be ushering out LeBron and Steph era type players to be like players that are still winning. Where I would want that for Giannis, like 5 years or 3 to 5 years with us, and we got a core team. You got probably Steph for another 2-3 years potentially.
Yep.
I think that would be great, and I think it would kind of show like, hey, we're older statesmen in the league, but look, if you combine us, we are still just as good as all these combined teams of 6 or 7 young guns who are good. And I would love to see that. As well as being a Warriors fan, I think that would be cool to see some of the older guard join up a little bit and go against a lot of these young teams that are really like, nah, yeah, forget these dudes are old now. Get these out of here. We're the people that are showing up now. Even though, in my opinion, there's only maybe like one or two guys out there that's like super, like Anthony Edwards and Wemby as just like a real face of the NBA. Like just you got Halliburton for the Pacers. He's not a face. Donovan Mitchell is not. He doesn't really seem like a guy. SGA is up there, but I even like the willingness to want to be a face or somebody like that, definitely. Where it's like, LeBron, who's going to be the next kind of LeBron or Steph, or were we just so blessed with these two that it may be another 20, 25 years before there's somebody that everybody's this hyped about, I guess. Maybe Wemby is probably that person right now. Cooper Flag, yeah. But like just the impact that, LeBron had coming in as a high school player with all that hype and stuff. We get that so much now, and we see so many high school players kind of just fall out that like it seems like we haven't seen somebody who's like, whoa, oh my goodness, come into the league in a while. But yeah, preferably I don't think it's gonna, or preferably I'd like to see it happen, but I just kind of don't think it is. Just kind of on the reality of things, and just the best opportunity for Giannis. It probably isn't the Warriors, but compared to the other teams that are out here, but I think it would be cool to see them join up.
Yeah, I mean, so the last thing I'll say on it, I think it is actually the best spot for Giannis. Like I think because they have a previous relationship, him and Steph, their styles are like perfect for each other in terms of like if you're talking about two complementary stars that make up for where the other lacks, probably can't get any better. Now, is it the best situation for the Bucks? No. Like what we're going to offer is not. But I think that if you really look at playing and the combination of us being able to put an offer together, I think that we are in the top 3 of teams. And I think that the other 2 teams are the Nets and I think Houston. I think Houston is enough of a roster and enough of a city to make Giannis consider it. And they got plenty of assets to make that move. I think Brooklyn, even though I think this is the biggest running joke in the league, is somehow always very appealing because they have yet to have a true talisman who has staked claim to that organization. So everybody's yearning if they want that legacy. They're yearning, and those are one of the few teams that have large market and still hasn't really been claimed, historically speaking. And then you have us, where we're talking about relationally. Giannis and them have always had a background of wanting to play together. They've always kind of talked about that. They always draft each other in all-star games. Whenever you notice that, when they're the captains, they're drafting each other first overall, right? So I do think if we're just talking on the court and we're talking, him chasing a championship, I do think that we are the best option just because of the organization we are, where he knows undoubtedly that if he comes over here, we will spend to make it right. We will do what's necessary to put a roster around him. That's what he wants. And then we also have Steph Curry, right? And a Draymond Green, right? And I don't think you can do it with all 4, but I have heard a rumor that, if we really thought Giannis was possible, that we would just ship youngsters off. We would try to bridge Buddy and somebody else's contract to get to around $25 million and then compile Kuminga in a sign and trade. So we'd sign him to a larger contract in order to also get the money up, add him into the deal, and then put pods. And like we have 4 first rounders, so probably all 4, and maybe 2 are unprotected and 2 are pick swaps, right? But then we're in the second apron. But I've heard that if that were ever an opportunity, that would be the one that made Joe Lacob think, you know what, I'll do what the Celtics just did. And I'll say, for 2 years, I'm going to bite the bill because I know that this roster alone gets us pretty much to the doorstep of the championship. So, Giannis, think about it. That's all I'm going to say. But it is very far-fetched. However, if there's an organization that makes these kind of wheels and deals done and kind of is appealing to a player like Giannis, who likes the authenticity of an organization, likes the wholeheartedness, we're that.
It's the Lakers. Oh,
yeah. No, the Lakers are the exact opposite of that. Like, you want to talk about an organization where you just playing for the biz, then go to the Lakers, which is what Luka's going to deal with for a long time here. And lastly, get well soon, Jason Tatum. He went down with the Achilles. So sorry about that. That also has now ended the series for the Celtics. Real fast, before we do a quick playoff update, the Valkyrie season has started tonight versus the Sparks. WNBA season has started. Valkyrie are playing at Chase Center. Obviously, they are in their first season, their inaugural season, and it's going to get ugly, but they have wonderful attire. Again, like I said, they got, women's basketball in the Bay. So show some love. I'll definitely be checking it out, and I just wanted to put that out there now that the season has started. Real fast, let's not go into details due to time today. Can you give us a quick overview of what has happened so far in the playoffs outside of the matchups? And you can either take one conference on or both. I don't care, but just take it away.
All right, breakdown. Can I get a breakdown? Here we go. Cavs thought they were going to be a team to make it all the way. We're blowing teams out to start the playoffs. Ended up losing to the Pacers. Gentlemen swept 4-1 by the Pacers. Pacers moving on to the conference finals against New York. New York. All right, your boy. You're
right.
So we out here in New York. Took out the defending champs. No more Celtics, like you just said.
Right.
RIP the rest of the season for my man Jason Tatum. Go get healed up, get that Achilles right.
He got bing bong.
So at the end of the year, for real though, got bing bang. See you next year. Fuck your life. They out of there in New York. Timothy Chalamet and the boys were in the building. You seen Timothy out there.
Skipped the Met Gala to go to that. I was like,
Met Gala with Kylie, took her away. Right. Man, Busta Rhymes was out there. Ben Stiller, all the stars are going to be out in New York in a frenzy. I'm sure right now they're still going crazy over at MSG.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be taking on the Pacers. That's a classic matchup. Pacers, Knicks, conference finals for the East.
Yeah, what are we in the 90s?
Whew, crazy. Thunder are getting tested by the Nuggets now. Nuggets are driving it to 7 games. Wow. Jokic and Jamal Murray are basically willing the old school guys against all these young bucks of OKC. Shai Glizzy out there, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, all doing their thing. Even their role players are the other Jalen Williams, Lou Dort out there doing his thing. It's a tough series. It's really going to test how well the OKC Thunder are going forward. Is this going to be another bump in the road, or are they going to be able to persevere and get through this gauntlet that is the Joker? On the other side, you know how it is. The Warriors lost to the Timberwolves. Unfortunately, it didn't honestly look very impressive by the Timberwolves against us. So it'll be interesting to see them moving forward in the Western Conference Finals, whether it be OKC or the Nuggets. I think they're going to have a very difficult time.
For sure.
And I think it's going to be the end of their party because it just doesn't look – they look like a team that shows up and plays to the level of the talent that shows up that day. And so even on a bad day for Shai Glizzy, other guys will step up. Seems like for the Timberwolves, that's not the case. Seems like they're very easily taken out of a game, still show those young player tendencies. And then you have a guy like Julius Randle who is somebody who can score and put up great numbers, but still hasn't really seen that be reflective in W's when it really counted. So they just don't seem like a team that is quite ready and has that veteran presence besides Mike Conley to get them to the finals and get them championships. So at the end of the day, we got the Western Conference Finals, Timberwolves against either the Nuggets or OKC Thunder. And then on the east side, we got that classic New York Knicks, and we got the Pacers. So that's what we got moving forward. Let us know who you guys think is going to win out of these. Pacers win a crazy, crazy series. Halliburton and the boys going absolutely crazy. So we'll see how it pans out. Can they keep that going against the Knicks?
Facts. That's a perfect overview, Mitch. Thank you. That was elegantly done. You're in trouble when the last big market team is the Knicks.
Yeah.
And like Mitch said earlier in the show, if you're looking for excitement in terms of on paper and logo-wise for this playoffs, I think we're about out of that now. However, should still be some good matchups, but no postcard matchups anymore, as they say, minus this Knicks-Pacers.
If the Nuggets make it to the next round, then they still Joker is the best player in the whole playoffs, and he's
Yep.
like a solidified stud.
Yep.
Whereas, like, I feel like any of these other one, like if the Thunder make it, then besides Anthony Edwards, you're playing teams.
Yes.
Like, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is up for MVP, but like,
Yes.
is he bringing another team that doesn't have all these other guys to a champion or like to this level? Is Tyrese Halliburton bringing a team that doesn't have Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Benedict Mathurin,
Benedict
Mathurin, Nembhard, like a whole bunch of guys? I mean, I'll give Jalen Brunson his props for doing that.
Yeah, no, he's balling.
But at the same time, Mikal Bridges, Cat, OG Anunoby. So Josh, you know what I mean? There's a lot of these are very well-rounded teams, and it's like Joker seems like the only one, and maybe even Ant for his team, even though he has some good supporting cast. That's like, I'm the superstar on my team.
Oh, for sure.
And I need to take it all the way. All these other guys are just very, very, very good, but they also got a whole ass team around them.
Yeah, I love that point, actually. I do think that that's very accurate. I think Jokic and Ant are the last left in terms of truly like superstar power taking their team to the next level. No knock on SGA. I think SGA is a true superstar and is worthy of the MVP. I just think it's hard to overlook how good that team is too. Like Hartenstein, Chet, Jalen Williams, Dort. I mean,
even all the role players,
exactly.
The bench guys are
so many
crazy
snipers.
Right now.
Caruso. I mean, they're nasty. So that was a perfect way to wrap up the playoff update. We're real fast going to also touch on the NBA lottery results before we move on to the NFL. Wow. Can we say riggedy rigged? Mavericks got a get out of jail free card for trading Luka. Now that whole trade makes me wonder, was this already known? Did LA need a scooper? Did LA need something that was going to keep this organization going for the next 10? And they realized through assets and through everything else that would not be possible once LeBron left. And so how are we going to do that for the ratings? And then understanding that Nico was going to get destroyed for this and understanding that there is no way to justify a Luka trade, that, well, we're going to get you the best consolation prize we can, buddy. And we're going to get something that'll get them off your tail one way or another. So just bide the time, take these L's. And now it looks like he traded Luka for AD and Cooper Flag because they, if you haven't noticed based on what we're saying, won the lottery with a 1.8% chance to win it, which basically means had the Warriors never traded for Jimmy and had they ended up in that back end slot of the play-in and kept our first round pick, with these odds, we might have got Cooper Flag. Okay? I'm going to just keep it 100. That's the first thing I thought about. I was like, wait a minute. What? Because we were predicted to have around the 13th pick, 12th pick. Mavericks were somewhere around 11, right? So if you can hop, we can hop, okay? But then it just gets even more spooky when you think about the Spurs getting the second pick, and then you think about the 76ers getting the third pick. So all of this is janky. So we just not bringing... It's just
one of them years, you know?
And it seems to always happen this way. It seems like they're learning when there's generational talents up for grabs. I think they learned from Wemby. I think they did that on purpose. Dead ass. And I think that they've been learning from things like Zion, where they let a Pelicans team get their hands on him, and Zion is now trashed goods, right? They looked at the draft right there, and they go, ooh, we had two stars that ended up in New Orleans and Memphis. Yikes. Yikes, right? I think they've been paying attention. And, when you look at teams like Washington, when you look at teams like Charlotte,
Utah,
these are teams that had 15% and up to get the first pick. And they're picking 5th, 6th, and 7th.
They all had about 15 wins last year.
And to me, it's like, I don't care about the numbers, man. You got to look at it from a marketing standpoint, and this seems to be an absolute masterclass by Adam Silver. I mean, if you want to talk, we thought a masterclass happened with the Luka thing. Wow. So real fast, just before we move on, because we will double back as we get closer to the draft. Obviously, we'll break all of this stuff down and give you a lot of in-depth coverage on it. But due to time, we got to make sure we're moving through because, as we said, we've missed weeks, so it's a lot to talk about. So don't worry, we will double back. And if there's anything you feel like we should talk about on the next episode or future episodes, just drop it down in there so we can make sure we get it all in there. But real fast, if you are the Mavs, do you keep the pick?
Yeah, 100%. I'm taking Cooper Flag. Got a good enough core around him to help propel him. Got AD, we got Clay, we got Kyrie, we got Derek Lively. So do they still got PJ?
Yeah,
still got PJ. So
still got Gafford until we
got Gafford. So still got a whole complete team. You're gonna add somebody who's gonna be a plug and play guy right from the get go. Not gonna be a lot rely on him, and you got a guy in AD who takes away a lot of the defense, and you got a shooter in Clay who sucks a lot of guys over towards him. Pause.
Right.
But pause. You know what I'm saying?
And then Kyrie who's shaking
everybody. So really, it's like, just do your thing, bro. Like, just figure it out wherever you feel like filling in. Get some rebounds, get some putbacks. We need you to make a three, make it happen. We take everybody else out and put you in. Go do your thing, dribble the ball around. Even maybe be somebody who can run the offense a little bit because they really don't have anybody else besides Kyrie that can do that. So he's somebody else who can also be a facilitator. So 10, 12 years of that, I think they're going to be okay. Absolutely. So I would definitely keep that first pick.
Yep. You and I both. I'm saying the same thing. I mean, even if you want to talk about Giannis being available, I normally would never say no to that. Mm-hmm. I'm saying no to that. Mm-hmm. When you look at this roster, you look at the money they have tied down, you can't get any better than adding a freaking blue chip prospect at the price that they're going to have him with, especially when it aligns with the timeline of these other contracts. Mm-hmm. This will allow this roster to maximize. Yeah. This will allow this roster to have a bench where you can continue adding to it because of the fact that you just added a potential star for nothing.
Yeah.
Right? You go get Giannis, now you got to reconstruct everything. There's no bench, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. I think this is truly a get-out-of-jail-free card for Nico, and he will deserve a guillotine. You get what I'm saying? And I don't deserve, I'm not saying nobody actually killed this man, but guillotine from the NBA if he messes this one up. Like, if he gets rid of this pick, I don't care who he brings in. He's gone. Right, so you can't get a better situation. I don't know if there was a better team for Cooper to go to in terms of fit and winning, in terms of winning now and an organization that wins for the most part, and then fit positionally, like coming in as a small forward, 6'9", who can do it all is that's the only position they didn't have. Mm-hmm. They have hella bigs, they got tons of guards, and they got Klay Thompson who can shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
Now you just slide in as a 6'9", like Mitch is saying, do whatever's needed. I mean, I don't know if has there ever been a better situation for a first pick to come into without pressure like that.
Spurs.
Tim Duncan. Yeah, but even Tim Duncan walked into a team that David Robinson was gone the year before, so they was cheeks. But yeah, I mean, this is like him walking into a full kitchen with the covers overflowing, so keep the pick. Next, on to the NFL update, draft update. Obviously, that happened as well. And again, we will give more in-depth next week. We will flesh these out. So anything that you see us miss this week, that's what the comments are for. Mm-hmm. But we're just going to talk real fast about the first 3 picks and how we feel about them, and then a quick grade. That'll be for the Raiders, respectively, and the Niners. So I'm going to let him go first with the Raiders. First 3 picks. How do you feel? Name them and a grade.
All right, so first, the Raiders got Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State, 6th pick. It's a high pick for a running back, they say these days, but it was definitely necessary. Baller. He can be somebody who's going to give us 25-plus carries a game. We obviously don't want to run him down to the ground, but he can handle it. Next, we got a guy in Jack Beck from TCU, kind of like a wannabe Cooper Kupp, kind of Puka Nacua kind of fold of I'm willing to do anything and everything at my position. I'm not just somebody who catches the ball.
Somebody good route runner.
Yeah, I can run good routes. I can get extra yards after the catch, and I can block and do everything else I need to do. So solid pick. And last but not least, we got Darian Porter out of Iowa State, a wide receiver turned cornerback, big, tall, lengthy guy. I think about 6'3", right? 6'3", 195. So insane. We'll see if he can be kind of like
Sauce Gardner, kind of, but that
brother from Cowboys.
I know you're talking about Diggs.
Diggs. he could be like try and be like
Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs, somebody else who made the transition from wide receiver to cornerback and became a ball hawk. Yeah. So hopefully he can be on that kind of hype. Again, they were saying he's a little bit of a project because of the switch that he made, but still has a lot of good physical attributes and can be a good guy to plug and play for us. I did like the picks. I think they're all pretty solid. The way the draft was turning out, I thought we might have tried to do some different things, but maybe that was just all talk that we were hearing from other pundits trying to push certain guys. But hey, I mean, I thought we could have gone with even some earlier. The way we drafted and traded back a lot, I just felt like there was an opportunity to get some players that had fallen that was like, oh yeah, that's exactly like it kind of fell into your lap each time, but we didn't take the, I guess, obvious guy each time. But it seems like we got a lot of solid guys, and I can't really knock a Pete Carroll war room. He seems to be able to pick the right guys and guys that he knows how to coach.
Absolutely. They definitely went offensive heavy. And so, that's
seems like we're making a lot of defensive pickups on free agency lately.
And that's where I think we differ. The Niners, we went super defense and we went offense with our free agency. But I think both teams expected a little more balance. I think that's kind of what you're implying to, where there were certain, I think, picks where I looked at the Raiders of like, oh, that's a perfect spot to add that defender. And Darian, what's his name?
Darian Porter.
He's still going to be a great asset. He's built like Sauce Gardner. Yeah. So if you see him, he's built like that. So on to the Niners. We had the 11th overall pick. We picked Mykel Williams, who's a D lineman, also an edge. But he's been on the inside. He's been on the inside shoulder of the offensive lineman. He's also been on the outside shoulder. So he's played several positions, versatile. Definitely an off the bus kind of guy. 6'5", 35-inch arms. 265, runs like, 4.9, right? So a guy that is, you don't want to be being chased by.
Right.
He's definitely a run stopper, the best edge setter in the draft, which is something that we struggled with immensely last year. And if you know Robert Saleh, we love to stop the run when he's our defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. So this is a guy that, even though normally when you draft the edge, you think about getting to the passer, this is a guy whose skill set really starts and derives from his ability to stop the run. Mm-hmm. His pass rush, I think, is something that needs to be worked on. And as an 11th overall pick, that'd be the one knock against him, is it's awfully high for people to go, oh, well, what's his pass rush going to look like? Mm-hmm. However, if you know anything about Georgia linemen, boy, they are coached well. Mm-hmm. And they're also not really allowed to do a lot. So much talent on those lines every year that you are told what to do. When we find your strengths,
stick to your gap.
You do that, okay? And so there's not a lot of opportunities for those guys to rack up a lot of sack numbers. He also played with an injury last year. So I think it's a great pick. I'm super excited to get Nick Bosa a running mate. And I think, honestly, we have the perfect team. Our D-line coach is amazing to get this guy right. And he's only 20 years old. So I think phenomenal pick for what we're trying to do. Excuse me. And we need to get the run stopped, and that's a great way to start it. Secondarily, in the second round, we got, with the 43rd overall pick, D lineman Alfred Collins out of Texas. Who, again, massive being, another off-the-bus kind of dude, 6'6", 320. So he's a Calais Campbell kind of build. Another one of these guys that is a true run stopper. I think he has more than people think in terms of a pass rush, but if he's going to be defined as something, it's obviously a run-stopping defensive tackle. So, again, as you can tell, there's a theme. We are trying to shore up our run defense, and I think those two picks really are a great start. And just kind of what you want to see for your kind of normal Niners defense, right? Mm-hmm. These gritty, really large humans that are going to make you feel it every time you play against us. And then with the third round pick, 75th overall, we had linebacker Nick Martin, who basically is a replacement for Dre Greenlaw. This is an undersized guy. He's about 6 foot, 210 pounds. Mm-hmm. So normally that'd probably be a safety. But there were several guys that we actually drafted this year who just did really well in the strength testing, which implies, the way that they kind of play and hit is a lot bigger than their size might let you, might perceive to be. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of people looked at it as a potential reach. But if you know something about the Niners, we love to reach, and we love to go for guys that we want, and we don't care about where it is really slotted in. Do I always like that? Not really. But do I feel like, especially with these third, fourth round picks, we usually do hit? Yes. So I have to trust it. And especially when it comes to defense, ball hawks, guys that are flying around, we do tend to draft well with that. So I'm going to give the grade a solid B for the first 3 picks. I could talk about the rest of them in another time, but I think the job was well done. Do I think that we needed the offensive line and there was a couple spots where we could have looked at that? Yes. And so, yep. And so, I think that at the end of the day, that's something where, we'll have to take a look as this progresses in a season or two to really give it a grade. But as of now, I'm going to give it a firm B. I think we got a lot of what we needed done in those first 3 picks. I think that, again, there was some players potentially reached on. And in the totality of the draft, I would have liked to see us go after some offensive linemen before the 6th round. And then lastly, in the NFL, we have Brock Purdy got the $265 million contract extension.
Big
so
money.
The contract y'all been waiting on has happened. It has reset the quarterback market. It's about $53 million a year, I think. That's what it comes out to, and I think it was $180 guaranteed. Lots of money. But
a lot of tractors for my boy.
He can buy whatever he wants now. So that'll be interesting to see how that continues to play out. We all knew it was coming. Most of the league knew it was coming. So hopefully he can perform to it. I mean, statistically, he has matched up with a lot of quarterbacks. He's been pretty much top 10 in the majority of categories that matter. But there's always still knocks on him. There's still concerns about his game overall and how much is dependent on the skill around him. So very eager to see how he continues to work through the hype and the expectations that are going to be around this new contract.
For sure.
But congrats to my man. Went from, pick number 256 to having 263.
Hey.
Or 265. It would have been funny if we gave him 253 mil. I was like clowning that. I was like, we definitely should have did that. But also make sure we're going to have to, put these MLB shorts right at the end of this. So make sure you're checking up on our shorts because we will have some new ones coming up about the MLB. Did you want to add anything in before we close, or do you feel like just the shorts will do?
Man, yeah, that'll do. I feel like we've had a good roundup for NBA mostly, and then got to our teams for the NFL.
Yep.
It's a lot to get back to, so I feel like we got really centered on the main topics, and we'll have some shorts and some more info coming later on in the week.
Absolutely. So the last thing I will end it on before we get up out of here today is soccer Champions League update. Barca obviously got knocked, which was ice cold by Inter, but one of the greatest battles that we've seen in a long time in a semifinal. Ended 7-6, which is not a baseball score. That is soccer, boys and girls. And so, that's pretty wild. And then on the other side, Arsenal they just can't take home a trophy. And they were playing so well, and then to just bow out like that to PSG, pretty disappointing after knocking out Real. So it will end up being PSG versus Inter Milan in the final. And compared to it being Barca versus Arsenal, quite a drop-off, I think, in style, I think in on paper, and I think in overall performance of what this final will look like. But that's that.
Shout out them Parisians, you know what I'm saying? They got their squaddy out there.
Yeah. So check it out. The Champions League will be coming up. That final will be coming up in the next week or so. So definitely something to check out, or might be in a couple weeks, actually. And then lastly, Barcelona was able to take home a big trophy. They won La Liga, so they got a big final win over Real Madrid, 4-3, which was the last El Clasico of the season. They ended up going 4-0 in all the El Clasicos between league and cups, which is very rare to happen.
Sweep them up.
Shout out to you, Kylian, for bringing that wonderful luck you got over to Real Madrid, because the year you leave PSG, they go to the final. The year you come to Real Madrid after they go to the final, they get swamped out. Wow. The timing of your career is hilarious. But yeah, Lamine Yamal, he may end up winning the Ballon d'Or. He's been phenomenal at 17. I think he's the best player in the world right now at 17, which is crazy to say. But he truly led us. We had a 2-0 win in the last game of the season versus, let me look that up real fast before we get out of here, Espanyol, which just solidified the title for us. So another great season. That is 2 titles in 3 seasons for Barcelona, which is quite a feat with Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid in your same division. So thank you again for being here today. I know it was a lot. We covered a lot. We got a lot more to go. If there's anything you think we missed, put it down in the comments like we've been telling you this whole time, because we will get to them. And be on the lookout for the shorts. We got MLB shorts coming tonight, so those will be coming alongside this episode. And we will see y'all next week on the Say Something show. Peace, love, and happiness. We out.
Gone.